And those are today's headlines. Let's have a closer look, one by one.
The government is set to enforce from next month to March of next year measures to reduce fine dust levels, such as restricting the operation of grade 5 vehicles without low-emission functions.
정부가 다음 달부터 내년 3월까지 미세먼지 계절관리제를 실시합니다. 여기에는 미세먼지 저감장치를 장착하지 않은 배출가스 5등급 차량의 운행 제한 등이 포함됩니다. Tell us more.
Well, the government's decided to expand the scope of regions where these grade 5 emission vehicles without low emission functionalities will be restricted. So prior to now, it had just been for certain hours and days in the metropolitan area, Busan and Daegu, the biggest cities. But now they're going to expand that to include Daejeon, Gwangju, Ulsan, and Sejong from next month.
Otherwise, of course, officials expect the air quality to get quite bad.
Right. Also, 15 coal plants will also be halted until next March as well.
Coal plants, of course, plants here refer to factories.
Correct. Right.
Okay, let's have a look at the main vocabulary. The first one is to enforce something.
Well, we're usually talking about rules or some measures, and you enforce something. You basically force people to obey or follow those rules or measures.
네.
And if you don't follow them, then you'll get fined or
Right.
there'll be some punishment. You'll face some repercussions.
Absolutely. Enforcing something, 어떠한 법이라든지 규칙을 집행하도록 하는 것을 말합니다. 자, 그 다음에는 restrict라는 동사도 한번 같이 볼까요?
When you restrict something, you limit who can access. Usually we're talking about, say, for example, there's restricting you. Sometimes they will, if someone owns a building, they'll restrict access to certain parts of the building. When I was a kid, if I wanted to see, certain movies would be restricted, R-rated.
Right.
So it means it's limited to people who are over 18 years old. So when you
Yeah.
restrict something, you're limiting who's able to access it or who's able to see something or who's able to go into a certain place.
Exactly. Those labels differ by country.
Right.
In Korea, we just have, I think it's 19, which is the equivalent of an R
Sure.
in English-speaking countries. 네, 우리는 이제 19세 미만 관람 불가인가요? 이렇게 그 영화 누가 봐도 되는지 레이블링 할 때 보통 나이 기준으로 우리는 구별을 하죠. 근데 외국에서는 이제 알파벳이 있어요. PG 그러면 parental guidance 부모님의 보호 하에 봐도 되는 거. 그다음에 R라고 써 있으면 restricted입니다. 이 단어예요. 제한돼 있다라는 뜻인데 이 자체가 19세 미만 보면 안 된다. 청소년 관람 불가라는 뜻입니다. What else is that? U is for like universal or everyone? No? Is that no? Oh, well, I forget what the other labels are for
There
movies.
was one called NC-17, which was like
NC.
the highest one. That usually you couldn't even get that in movie theaters. So if movies
okay.
got that rating, they would usually do edits so they could
Okay.
get the restricted rating so they could be put
So
in movie
that's
theaters.
even higher than R.
Yeah.
Oh, really? 여러 가지 레이블들이 지금 우리가 구체적으로 영화 레이블 얘기하는 건 아니지만 다릅니다. 그리고 그 중에서 영어에서 R라고 되어 있는 게 이 단어예요. Restricted, 제한된다.
When you see anything restricted, it just means there's a limit.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to be allowed.
Sure. 네, 출입이 제한될 수도 있고요. 그때도 entry is restricted 하면 되겠습니다. Let's have another look at the headline. The government is set to enforce from next month to March of next year measures to reduce fine dust levels, such as restricting the operation of grade 5 vehicles without low emission functions. Let's move on.